Now with Nadine.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome Scottsdale's new mayor, Lisa Borowsky. Beyond her political vision and campaign promises lies a dynamic and multifaceted individual with a story worth exploring. In this exclusive interview, we dive into the personal side of Lisa, the experiences that shaped her, the values that guide her, and her aspirations for Scottsdale's future. Join us as we welcome the woman behind the title, offering a glimpse at what drives her passion for community and public service. Did you like that?
I love
Was that a good introduction?
That's perfect. Sold. You're hired.
I told you before, Lisa, I always like to plan my first question and then take it from there. I had a few ideas, but right before we went on air, I want to know, what are we calling you? Are you Mayor Borowsky? Are you Mayor Lisa? But you said you're just
Lisa.
You're just Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa. Lisa works for sure.
Yeah.
Of course, on the dais, it's protocol to address council members and the mayor as mayor or council member, and you'll see that a lot Lisa on the dais. But Lisa is
today
perfect.
We're just Lisa.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, awesome. Congratulations, first and foremost. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I've worked really hard to achieve this goal, and it's been a goal of mine since I was asked to run for council back in 2000. I guess it was 2008, early 2008. So
that's been a long time goal.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go back a little bit, because my focus here is really not talking about politics. My focus is talking about who you are and what Scottsdale means to you. You're from Scottsdale.
I am. I'm a Valley native, and I was raised in Scottsdale my entire life. The only time I left Scottsdale was to go to law school in New York, and then I interned for a law firm in San Diego. So
yeah, when we chatted on the phone, I said, "Where did you go to elementary school?" And you're like, "I went to Cocopah."
Right, when it was in elementary school.
So you went to Cocopah and Chap?
And Chaparral, and yes, I did. And I graduated from Horizon.
And you graduated from Horizon.
Yeah, my parents were the original house flippers. So
really?
Yeah, really. It was my mom's job to buy and sell the house. And,
right.
My dad had his career. And so we moved a lot around Scottsdale.
Okay.
So we had this. So people ask me where I went to high school. This is a little known story. And I say, where didn't I go to high school? Because I actually changed high schools 5 times.
5 times.
And graduated in 3.5 years.
Wow.
And I went to 2 high schools twice. So it really requires a diagram. And it had a lot to do with my career as a child, which was riding horses. So
riding horses.
Yeah.
Well, my husband grew up in Scottsdale. I mean, he remembers, and I shouldn't be telling you this, but he remembers cow tipping. Mm-hmm. And I think we've come a long way since that. Give us a glimpse of what Scottsdale was like growing up when you were little.
Well, we moved North Scottsdale, which was at that point in time Cholla and Scottsdale Road. And there were, it was horse properties all around. And we moved that far north, because our horse stable was at where Cracker Jack's is now, unfortunately soon to become high-rise apartments.
Right.
And so I essentially grew up at Siminoff Stables, which is where Cracker Jack's has been for the last 20 years. Did
you want to pursue a career in equestrian?
No, I didn't. That was my career, literally as a child, and it was a great job to have. And passion. I mean, my sister and I begged my parents. We'd sit around at the ripe old age of 6 and 7 years old, thinking of horse names, and my dad finally gave in and
what was it named?
Horse. Well, our first horse was named Malachi, and funny. Before we had a trainer, my dad actually bought it from somewhere, and it got delivered to our front yard by a horse hauler, and we had now a horse to join. And our first horse actually was named Lillimore, and we had bought that horse from someone that had a barn behind us. So, yeah. And then you really shouldn't have a horse if you don't know how to ride.
Right.
Or you don't know how to handle horses. So we learned that a little bit the hard way, although it was a great experience. And so my parents decided to get us with a trainer to educate us. And so that was Siminoff Stables on Scottsdale Road.
And growing up it's like, what we have now, is there anything that you did back then that we still have now, or anything back then that we don't have now? Like, give us some insight in, where your favorite restaurants, your favorite things to do, your favorite parks to play at.
So Scottsdale in population and, expansion development throughout the city has grown exponentially since I was a kid, obviously. And so our big thing back then was Rawhide, which was at Pinnacle Peak and Scottsdale Road, where nothing else was. And so we'd always have Christmas parties, and that was the big gathering place there. You could ride horses like literally throughout.
And they did the shootouts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For real. Legitimately. Like they had a show every night. And it was it was a great upbringing. You could ride your horse down, throughout the desert.
And you did.
And we did, for sure. And it was great. And it was a lot smaller. There wasn't, gosh, I'm going to date myself for sure now. It was like Goldwater's. Right. Was the store, the big store here. And obviously when you look out here, you see the evolution and how great Scottsdale has become. I think it's always been a great community that people were drawn to. But now I think, we've really exploded in terms of our attention around the country and the world.
Absolutely.
Honestly, as a tourism capital of the Southwest.
Well, I mean, we're going to dive into that in a little bit, but first I want to kind of track your background. So you went to law school because you decided to pursue that, and then you came back.
I did. I decided to be a lawyer when I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
And my other choice, because the career fair, right. I don't know if your kiddos do career fair.
Yes.
Still. I chose dolphin trainer and lawyer.
So we went with we went with the lawyer. I'm sure your parents are very happy.
And good thing, yes. Because it turns out I'm afraid of fish underwater.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't work out.
It would have been a really big problem. But anyway, so I decided to go to law school, and it's really interesting because I see
look at your career path and how it's gone.
Yeah. I also see, the flip side of that when people don't know what they're going to do, and it's really a struggle the older you get. I feel very blessed that for whatever bizarre reason, as a 6th grader, sure. I decided what I was going to do for my career. So left Arizona. At the last minute, I had applied to all West Coast schools, and my cousin had graduated from St. John's University School of Law, and back east, my parents are from New Jersey. And at the last minute, she goes, you should come here. And she was graduating as the 3rd year. I'm thinking, okay, let's go to New York.
Let's do it.
Why not? Because Scottsdale,
right?
Very homogenous community, and I thought that's going to be very different, and it was, and I loved it. And
then you came back and you started your own practice.
I did. I came back, and I didn't start my own practice. She is my best friend still to this day. Her dad had a law firm out of Tempe, and he was a well-known attorney. And he was retiring, so she was going in to join him, and she asked me if I would be interested in joining them and taking over the firm eventually, which we did.
So you eventually took over the firm, and
it
was yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, did you have any draw towards politics?
No.
Okay.
None at all.
So where was the bridge between being an attorney and a very successful attorney, having a daughter, getting married and having a daughter, and deciding to go the route of government?
And it did exactly go like that, because I'll tell you, my former partner and I kind of separated ways, and I started my own firm in 2006 here in Scottsdale, and I don't even think I could have told you who was on the council. Probably I could have told you who the mayor was, but other than that, I didn't pay attention to politics and what was going on, especially locally. And there were a couple of events that happened, and it was seen as anti-business climate at the time. And based on some of those experiences, I started paying attention.
Sure.
And notoriously, one of those issues was involving my brother and a business that he had purchased, which was a gentleman's club called Diamond Girls that had been in place for 40 plus years. And there were only 2 gentlemen's clubs in the city of Scottsdale. And the differences between my brother and I are dramatic. Me, lawyer, focused on that. So
Right.
6th grade, mom with a little girl, and I used to say my brother went to hair school,
Right.
At the
Right.
ripe old age of 19 or whatever. And that sounds really like a unique career path for
Right.
him, if you knew anything about him. But I quickly realized that that's where you meet the girls. He's no dummy. And so I used to say he was born to be and then he opened one of the most successful clubs, started really Old Town with a couple of other bar owners called Cat Eye Lounge. And that was really the go-to place. And I used to say he was born to be a club owner, but he was, turns out, born to be a gentleman's club owner.
Well, maybe it's almost the same. I think, I just want to mention it's so cool because I reached out to Lisa really wanting an interview. You were so gracious. You emailed me, you called me, you texted me, and then we talked for just an hour, and it was such a natural and transparent conversation. And it was refreshing just to get, the real story, because one of my first questions to you when we talked was like, how did you decide you wanted to do this? And you said you wanted to be your pro-business. And that's what and that's what ultimately skyrocketed your career path to bring you to where you're at today.
Right. And it's important to go back in full circle on that conversation. While, you can choose not to participate or to frequent or, support a business, but illegally operating business in our city limits is, that's on the verge of being shut down by Scottsdale City Council, was a problem. And everyone saw it that way because it was referred to the voters. And I shouldn't say everybody, but the majority of voters referred it and overturned the decision. So that's a long story that you can read all about. And, notwithstanding the dramatic differences between my brother's path and my path, I'm a big supporter of businesses. And I think an anti-regulatory or lessening the regulatory scheme for business owners is very important, because we want to see, that's an isolated incident of that type of business. Generally speaking, I really want to encourage and support businesses, especially small businesses, to succeed and want to do business in our community, make it easier, less expensive, less red tape. So that was a big push for me on the council 2008 to 2012, and it's again a big push for me as I'm elected mayor.
So, I'm sure it was a big decision, running for mayor, especially mayor in Scottsdale. It's quite an endeavor with having a family and, being very much in the public eye. Was that a hard decision for you to make, or were you just all in saying, I'm going for it?
So it was not a hard decision. It wasn't even a decision. I have to be honest. Like, I describe it this way, and I really believe it. It was a calling. It truly was a calling. When I first started to look, especially born and raised, here, home. I thought to myself, even back in 2008, who's running this place? I just thought, some of the decisions coming out of City Hall seem so out of touch with my, demographic, my community, what I believe that Scottsdale was all about, and had, our origin. And so I really got the bug when I was on city council. My daughter was 5 when I got elected, and I was a single mom at the time and forward to today. I was running a law firm with 3 attorneys, 3 support, paralegal types. And I was on the council making $18,000 a year. And I had a little girl who was, my number one focus. And I just absolutely loved it. I loved the people, the experience of meeting,
the involvement,
the policy, having just seeing all the different facets, the diversity of issues that come before you, anything from development to entertainment to tourism to water to garbage, right? To all the different facets of our community. It was fascinating. I really thrived there, and I didn't re-up after my first term because it was just so much, and I candidly couldn't afford to. And when Jim Lane termed out, he got elected mayor when I got elected on the council, and he and I were very much aligned. So we did some great things together. So it wasn't as if I were going to challenge him. So went back, raised my daughter, finished, running my law firm, and she's now at U of A, and she's turning 20. So,
at being a single mom and your career path, of not only, going to college and becoming a successful attorney, but also making $18,000 a year, doing something that you're passionate about, and now becoming mayor. How does that feel for you as a mom and the example you're setting for your child?
Great. I worked really hard to get here, as you can probably imagine. In 2020, when there was that open seat, 5 candidates ran, and I was one of them. And I got to the top 2 in the primary after the primary. And a lot of people were very surprised at the outcome. And I thought, sometimes you lose. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? But I went back to my, practicing law, or continued on with that, finished raising my daughter through high school. And I'll tell you, the number of times I heard from 2020, that campaign cycle, 2021 through this election cycle, that I should run again, and people voted for me. And it really, I stopped short of saying it during the campaign, but I really felt like it was an obligation. I had such a high level of support. I raised $360,000 in that race. Close to 100 of it was my own. But it was a big, that level of support coming from not only people that you've known all your life, people you've never met before, and just hearing all that for 4 years.
They rallied around you. I was going to save this to the end, but the timing is just right. I actually asked, some kids to write you a question. And one of the questions was, let's say you didn't win mayor, or if you've lost at some point of your life, how do you rebound from a loss and continue moving on and moving forward?
It's a great question. So when I thought about, or was being encouraged to jump back in the race, there was a lot of people that said, incumbent's way tougher to beat. You didn't do it last time. Now it's going to be that much harder. And, I think there was a lot of that. I mean, no one thought I was going to win. I don't think.
Plugging your ears, or were you how did you put that behind you and not listen?
Going back to riding horses, sometimes you don't win in a class. It happens. You try harder the next time, or you do different things, or you just keep the faith, and that this day is going to be different than that day, right? Some days are not your day. And I just, honestly, going back to it was a calling. I sat there and thought, because several people said, well, you can't lose twice. And I sat there and thought to myself, what's the worst that can happen if you lose twice?
We know how that feels.
Right? I mean, I didn't stop breathing, thank God. I didn't stop, doing my thing. I had a great time from 2020 to 2024. My life did not change.
So what do you want to tell little kids who don't make the team, or don't win student council, or don't get the part? What is your message to them?
Know that you have the ability and you can achieve your goals. I mean, it's inside you. It doesn't matter. I mean, we've all failed at things in the past, and some small things, some really, really big things, some, people don't really know about, some that are the highest profile thing going on. And, it's just, it doesn't change who you are and your ability to get back on the horse.
Totally. I love it. Okay, let's talk about Scottsdale. I mean, Paradise Valley is, I think it's now the 27th most affluent zip code in the country. People are flooding our area from all over, and the boom has just been tremendous. You grew up here. You've seen it from the pastures to the pricey homes. What is that evolution how do you feel witnessing Scottsdale's evolution, and how do you feel about where we're at right now?
So I think my campaign was all about protecting Scottsdale's future. So I think there's been a real push, and it's easy to get caught up in this. Let's be available so everyone can be here. Let's be available so, high-rise apartments all over, so that we can find housing for everyone that wants to live here. That is not a community's job. A community's reputation is earned by really kind of the climate or the personality of their city. And I was concerned that there was a real push to be average. There was a lot of talk about affordable housing, and we're blessed to live in a or a valley full of sister cities that you can find the type of no matter what your position is financially, economically, you can find your price point throughout the valley somewhere, and we have great freeway systems. You can get to Scottsdale, live, work, play. Even if you decide you don't want to live here, and a lot of people do, like you said, Arcadia, it's kind of sub Scottsdale and PV, or they would say we're, Scottsdale is sub Arcadia or sub PV, whatever the case might be. But I think there's dynamics in a community that you have to respect and preserve and protect, right? And that is, we're a hospitality-driven community. That is our bread and butter. That's our economic driver. And tourism creates so much revenue for the city and keeps our tax base low, property taxes, keeps our sales tax low, and provides a lot of amenities that we would not ordinarily have. So I describe it, I believe tourism for Scottsdale is our export and our import.
I mean, think of everything that's
It's the
here.
golden goose,
I mean,
right?
we have it all. It's the spring training, it's the open, it's all the sports, the concerts. We have such, the weather, obviously, such an incredible draw. And to
Right.
you want to foster maintaining the
special qualities.
the affluence of what makes us special.
The special qualities, and
How do you plan on doing that?
I describe it as upscale, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
it doesn't have to be expensive, And getting back just briefly to the affordable housing, and this came up a lot on the campaign trail. One of my closest friends and biggest participants in volunteers in my campaign is a realtor, and she would frequently run searches. You can find affordable housing in Scottsdale, in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, whether that's by virtue of a rental or a purchase. And so it's possible. And how do I intend to keep it affluent? Or I prefer the term upscale. I think affluent denotes expensive, which I don't think that's necessarily the case here. PV, different. That's very affluent in my opinion. Right. Arcadia too. But getting back to that, my focus will be on attracting high quality development, which promotes the quality of life in our city, that respects neighborhoods, that promotes, resident friendly, family friendly environments. And so, the kind of runaway approvals and building of apartment complexes, I think that's not the direction. I think we're good. We don't need to keep going that direction because it's starting, if not already has, created an imbalance in the housing stock.
And the surrounding areas that we have, the Arcadia, Biltmore and all that, I feel like you as the Scottsdale mayor, and I know we have a great mayor in PV as well, and other surrounding government officials, but at the same time, I feel like you guys are going to all have to work really closely because Scottsdale is like this blanket, this mecca of where everyone just congregates. Mm-hmm. So how do you plan on working with the valley as a whole, especially your neighboring neighborhoods?
Well, I've been blessed with, having lots of great relationships with the elected officials that touch our city and our borders and outside of our borders. So I'll continue. I'll be very much involved with those other elected officials. Mark Stanton and I, Mayor Stanton and I have worked together on the Scottsdale Charros for, I've been on that board for 6 years. And so sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So we've gotten to know each other quite well, and I have he's the executive director of the Scottsdale Chamber, and I just spoke to them this morning, in fact, and so
there's so much intersection.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's funny when I was campaigning, people would always say, "Oh, well, I'm not Scottsdale, so I can't vote for you," and what happens, it's kind of like that Vegas saying, what happens in Scottsdale doesn't necessarily, it's the opposite of that, doesn't stay in Scottsdale. It flows outside of our boundaries into PV. And really, that's a big exposure.
Yes.
And Arcadia. So we have to keep it safe. We got to keep it clean. We got to keep it, the pristine, very attractive, beautiful community.
Tell me more about safety. I mean, for people that actually live in our area, but also for the tremendous tourism that's always coming here. What is your stance on safety?
So it's I think generally speaking, it's government's number one goal to protect its citizens. And you do that through
Schools?
police, fire, schools. I wouldn't include that in the police and fire protecting our citizens, but empowering our citizens is certainly where schools would come in, having really top-notch schools. And I will be getting involved with SUSD, which is, of course, our school system. Yes. And even though the Scottsdale City Council does not oversee the schools, many people don't know that. It's actually Scottsdale Unified School District.
So they do their own thing.
It's quasi-political subdivision that does that oversees the school system.
But you'll foster that relationship.
Absolutely, and get involved in it. And you talked about safety. I think one of the key components is getting involved and seeing what we can do from an SPD, Scottsdale Police Department perspective to help, really address what's going on in schools and the exposure, the potential, the threats, whether they're true or not, how we get arms around that and create the safest environment for all of us, including especially our most vulnerable, the kids, right?
The kids.
So, and getting back to, I know you were going to switch gears, but
it's fine.
I think it's very important that we are also focused on making sure our public safety, our Department of Public Safety, Scottsdale Police,
is supported,
knows that we really want to maintain a clean and safe city. And that includes having people sleeping throughout Old Town. That's not going to be something we continue to overlook. It's not something we will continue to overlook, and that's really important because that's a risk to our economic driver, which is tourism. And it's a risk to our business owners, and it's a risk to our citizens that don't know what they're walking into. So. And that's
you're
a big
keeping
deal.
Scottsdale sacred. It seems like
special, beautiful, right? Exactly, safe.
Yeah, we are going to switch gears. Okay, we're gonna take another route now. You used to be a restaurant reviewer on Channel 12.
I did.
I want to hear all about that. So you had your stint in TV. You would go. So first of all, how did that even come about? And are you a restaurateur? Do you just love to eat? And what's your favorite food? I want to hear all about it.
I love to eat. People always say, you don't eat. I'm sure you don't eat. Well, you haven't seen me. I eat like a truck driver, for sure.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Well, I have to go with Roaring Fork because that is my favorite restaurant.
That's where you had your parties, right?
Yep. I had both my opening kickoff event and then after the polls closed, I had my volunteers that were boots on the ground come join me over there for our team for dinner. And that ended up being a great night because we won.
Right, we won. It was a fun night. And now walk us through when you were going on TV. When was that? Remind me.
So it was 2000, and a friend, Rick Phillips, had a magazine called City AZ. That's what it was called. I couldn't remember the name when we were talking earlier. City AZ, and his partner had City NY, which was the New York version of that. And I was just walking through the mall one day, and I ran into Rick, and we're talking. I'm like, if you ever need a restaurant reviewer for your magazine,
you're like, I'm all in.
He goes, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And so I started doing restaurant reviews in print in the magazine back when. Well, you have a magazine, so
it's nice to have someone go do that for you.
It is. It's interesting. People. It was before Yelp and all the open table, so it was highly relevant.
Sure.
So then I did that for a while, and I was at the old Houston's where I used to office down by the Esplanade, and I ran into the anchor from Dan Plant at Houston's, and we were talking, and I don't even know how it came up, but they were looking for an entertainment reporter, and so I said, well, I do restaurant reviews. Yeah. And so I took the plunge.
So would you go on like every week?
Yeah. We did it every week. But the worst part about it, and this will resonate with you, they had me on the 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. broadcast.
Yes. It is early.
So I
woke up at like 3:30 in the morning for 4 years.
For sure. I don't know how you did it.
You know what? Sleep is overrated. We have time later on to do that.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not
It's
overrated.
fun. Morning shows are fun. Morning shows are fun to do. And and so do you have any memorable moments? Is there a restaurant that you vividly remember, like this was the best review I ever did?
Well, Yes and no. Okay, so entertainment reporters, as you well know, the restaurant reviewer, they're the first ones usually to get cut, right? If there's a big breaking story that we
You're
can
out.
go. One of my good friends had opened Kona Grill and at the mall, and it was like all the rage. It was a big new restaurant, so I had it all set up that we were going to do the restaurant review, and he had his team make 10 entrees, all their best work. And
was there a fire somewhere?
It was all, there was a big car accident.
I know.
And
I did traffic for 4 years, so don't bring me back.
All my camera guys, all the people that were supposed to show up didn't show up, and it was like, oh no.
That's your memorable moment.
Well, it was all memorable. It was all really good. But the most interesting part of the experience was because we had no budget for restaurant reviews.
There's still no budget for that either.
I wouldn't be surprised. So I not only was on air, I produced it, I directed it on air, and I did the editing. And back then it was like these machines.
It was a DVC tape. It was called it, and you had it was like a circle that you would roll this way. Do you remember the DVC tapes?
Cut the seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't like a cassette. It was just a weird size. It's so funny to me because I spent a lot of time in TV, and we used to have, like you with the DVC tape, we'd have to scribe. So we'd have to sit and listen to it and write. Remember, like writing. Now you just plug it into a app and it just transcribes your whole interview.
I know.
It's amazing.
But
it's amazing.
Who knows how to run editing equipment for TV?
I know. They do back there. My guys over there, thank goodness for them.
I think the most embarrassing part ever was I did a restaurant review for a Mexican place, and I still can't say it. Damn plant.
No,
I tried like 3 times to say Adavado or whatever. Did I just say it right? Adavado.
To me, it sounds perfect. I mean,
because we don't know how to say it. Yeah. And he had a kick. I couldn't get it to roll.
You couldn't get it.
I tried 3 times, and he had to chime in. It was pretty funny.
Okay,
but no one watches at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes, they do. Come on.
I didn't, but lots of people did, as it turned out.
Well, yes, a lot of people do. TV's not dead. Media's not dead. Magazines aren't dead. We are very much alive. So a few fun questions. If you weren't going this route and if you weren't an attorney, what would be your job? Dream job. Dream fun job.
Gosh, that is tough. What would be my job?
I don't know. Restaurant reviewer?
No
a paid
way.
Restaurant viewer?
I would own a restaurant.
You don't?
But I know that's a bad idea. I know all
what
the
kind?
reasons why it's a
Italian?
bad idea. No, I'd probably do a combination of Mexican and Asian, which Suma Maya does, but I do it a little bit different.
They have a really good brunch.
It's
a 2 hour. I'll meet you there, but it's a 2 hour cap. And you get to decide if it's unlimited mimosas or unlimited margaritas. You have to make it's a huge decision.
I know.
Which one, mimosas or margaritas?
So I'm all about frozen margaritas, and they have a machine.
You have a machine.
Not many people know that.
Okay.
But they have a machine.
Okay.
So that's one of my haunts.
I was just going to ask, what is something people don't know about you besides the frozen margarita machine?
That's it. They have something on the menu called Little Larry, but now I've changed it to Little Lisa at Roaring Fork. So
Little Lisa.
So ask for Little Lisa.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I mean, to me, that's when you've made it. You might be mayor,
oh my gosh.
but now you have a drink named after you that's legitimately on the menu.
Now that we've done this interview, they're going to have to formally put it on the menu.
I think they're going to have to let me go restaurant review their restaurant and taste test the drink, the Lisa.
Funny.
Let me see. Do you have anything on your bucket list, like anywhere you want to go, where you like to travel?
I do want to buy a boat and keep it in San Diego to go spend time on. But before I had my daughter, I had the luxury of traveling all around the world, and I rarely feel, the compelled to do that. The thrill of that is, I've done that, been there, done it. And, now that I have, I realize I haven't seen so many places in the U.S.
Sure.
So that's really my focal point when it comes to traveling. But I love, my little girl and I started going to Coronado for her, in the summer since she was born. And so that's kind of our...
As mayor, you cannot change the weather in August.
Yes. No, I cannot.
I know.
So that's our sacred place. So
it is a very special place.
Yeah.
Theme song to your life or your campaign?
Theme song to my life or my...
I really hate when people ask me these questions, so I like to just turn the table and be the asker.
Gosh,
I know,
gotta
it's
think about
so
that.
much
Change
pressure.
the subject for a second.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm the
We're
person
gonna come
that
back
has
to it.
songs popping
We
into
will
my-
come back to it.
my
Okay,
mind
what's on your
situa-
playlist?
Oh gosh, what isn't? I mean, whether it's someone once asked me, what's your favorite kind of music? I said top 40 and rap, and they were
Right.
like, "What?"
I mean, I would love. I'll pay you to
What?
rap. I won't pay you to do a restaurant review, but if you want to rap right here, I'm all for it.
I'm no rapper, that's
You're no
for
rapper.
sure.
Who's your
But
favorite rapper?
Eminem. I'm gonna have to go with Eminem. Who is it? Chance? No.
All right, cheat meal.
Cheat meal.
Cheat meal.
Oh, cheat meal.
Cheat meal.
But I told you I eat like a truck driver.
I
so
know, but
every
it's still.
meal
I still
for
want to
me-
know the cheat meal.
Every meal for me, it's got to be Mexican.
Okay.
Big Mexican, extra cheese.
Now, we saw your signs all over Scottsdale, and you're beautiful both on your signs and in person.
Thank you.
So you must have a beauty secret.
I have a great graphics guy.
That is a good beauty secret. I do agree.
His name is Jeff. I haven't been willing to give his
Yeah.
identity or his
Well,
contact
you're
to
beautiful
anybody.
in person. Do you have any beauty regimen?
Sleep.
Sleep.
So sleep is
Sleep's a good
definitely highly rated in my life.
Workout routine.
I am a workout fanatic. If I always say this, if I had a choice between working out and brushing my teeth, it would be a tough choice. I would work out probably.
Yeah.
And because I could brush
That's
my teeth
awesome.
later. But so I do bar. I used to do
like
drop
bar?
saddle spinning.
Okay.
I actually taught that.
Oh.
And that was amazing. I was a cult carrying member of a club.
You should do a complimentary bar class for the
I
city
wanted-
of Scottsdale
I want to do
in the Civic Center.
I was going to say ladies for bar, but I want the guys to get in there
I
and
know.
see how hard it is. 'Cause
Right.
They'll be like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
We can't." They'll be, sorry, gentlemen, crying the loudest. We should do that.
I think it'd be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Your biggest goal heading into this very exciting new chapter of your career.
My bigged goal, really, to bring the various, very diverse factions that tend to get siloed, and adverse to each other in our community. I saw that when I was on council,
Sure.
early on, and it's kind of the us against them,
Right.
and it turns into it doesn't need to be that way.
Sure.
I'm very much a consensus and collaborative, collaboration builder. And so I see that as a big part of my future as mayor. I have, supporters from a very diverse, if not all, factions
Right.
of our city. And there's a way to get people to work together, I think, bring people together, just allowing people to be heard and be part of the process, I think, is the number one goal. And that's what makes people really relieves the tension and kind of the upset about what they perceive as being left out of decision making. So my campaign was highly focused on bringing the residents back into the process at City Hall.
Do you have an idol?
An idol?
Yeah. Someone you look up to, admire, that's played a big role in your life?
Mom, don't listen to my dad.
That's lovely.
She would agree.
That's good. Okay, I have to go to my kid questions before we wrap this up. I asked one of them.
And they're both great. My mom's my idol too.
I love it. Okay, well, we talked about handling a loss. I said I even asked, what is your main goal for being a mayor? Okay, so if somebody writes you a letter,
I thought of my theme song.
What is the theme song? This is
get
breaking
the-
news.
Let's get it started.
Oh, there we go. Let's, okay.
Who sings
I'm
that?
not gonna. I'll let you do this thing.
How do
the
you do
dancing.
it?
Let's
Come on,
get
somebody
it
help me.
started. I
Yeah,
wish they
yeah.
could like pop it on right now, but I don't know if we have the
That
rights to the music.
That can be
Let's get
the
it started.
theme-
That's great.
That can be the theme song.
Is that what we're gonna do for like your like? Did you? Is that what you listened to when you won? Like were you
in
like
my
I'm putting
head.
on Let's right
in my head?
right? That's so
I'm
awesome.
sure we listened to a lot of things that night.
I'm
but
so glad that came to mind.
yeah.
Okay, if somebody writes you a letter, how will you write them back? Like a kid, if a kid writes you a letter,
Absolutely.
Will you write them back?
I've heard that a lot during the campaign that I was very responsive.
good. Yes.
And to the extent it's possible, I will continue to do that.
Yes, it is. It is hard.
Time allowing during
We
the day.
want to know if we write you a letter, can
Absolutely.
we at some point expect a response? Okay.
100%. And I invite the kiddos to come to City Hall. I think that's a big
I
deal.
think it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, I do too.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been delightful. I love your view. This is, this is old school. This building has been here a really long time. And what
so
some
is
people
Dave
don't
Pratt,
know,
who runs this building.
He's
been here for a long time.
He's the mayor.
I think he'll share the title with you.
Yeah, he was the mayor historically, right? Am I getting that right?
Yes, yes, he is the mayor, Dave Pratt.
Yes, that's right. That's his old kind of tagline.
Yes, but now you are Mayor Lisa.
I'm Mayor Lisa.
And he is sharing the title.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute joy.
Thank
you
you.
You are so gracious in responding and being, willing to come in here and sit down.
My pleasure.
You know,
anytime.
And just have fun talking. And now we're gonna go end this interview and pop on the song and let's get it started and have a slushy margarita, right? All right. Where can people find more information about you?
It's still lisaformayor.com.
What about Instagram?
We're transitioning to mayorofscottsdale.com, so stay tuned. Instagram, Lisa Borowsky.
Perfect.
Mayor.
All right.
Mayor Lisa Borowsky.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I wish I had a
honored.
margarita to cheers you. We'll do a virtual.
Excited.
Cheers. You have to do a cheers. Pretend.
All
we're
in
cheersing.
good time. Cheers.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Now with Nadine. Produced at Star Worldwide Networks.